Take two again, because they always turn into, at the thought of the level of, well, it's corruption. It's outright corruption. It's an abuse of power, and it is outright ugly. Anyway, so to continue on, to just get this little bit tied so I can move on to more fun podcasts and more software stuff, and who knows, maybe even some drug rehab and motivation stuff. How you can maintain that positivity in the most negative of negative. That's one thing I often laugh at. When some of the government goons, when I'd say things like, one of my favorites is, turning positives into negatives since 1973, and they'll be like, all you do, the government goons will be, all you do is talk about the negatives of our government. And they completely miss the point that the negative being turned into the positive is, the negative was falling into addiction and being exposed to. The positive is now being in a position where I can literally do something, or try to do something, at least do what one person can do, to try and genuinely make change before we continue to iterate into further and further levels of social decay, drug addiction, youth crime, women getting killed. And if we continue on the way we're going, look, if you were to do the math, if you were to do the data and like a forecast, it's not going to be good. It's not going to look good at all. If you were to forecast, oh yeah, but hey, we've been doing exactly the same game plan, but we'll get a different result soon. Come on, no, you won't. No, you won't. Okay, it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. So to finish with the book, steps through the book, we're at about chapter 4, chapter 5, which chapter 4 is like a looter in a riot, which is discusses the prison riot of 2015, which started at it highlights two things without laying the boots in, and certainly not for the brave frontline prison officers who were repeatedly thrown under nothing. It's not about them at all. It's not about them. They do a difficult job. They turn up every day, and somebody has to do it. No matter whatever the smart ass remark, at the end of the day, they do a very, very important job. However, the management, who weren't listening to their frontline staff, it just indicates the reason the riot has to be mentioned, because it indicates the level of mismanagement. We're talking about a riot in a remand prison in an induction unit. We're not talking about crafty lifers. We're talking about people who are still withdrawing from drugs, fresh off the streets for a couple of weeks. I'm not excusing a prison riot, not even close. I'm just highlighting the fact that if you can't manage, they'll even say we manage difficult people. If you can't even manage an induction unit, and if you can't, and your frontline staff is falling on deaf ears. Dinosaurs don't have any ears, do they? Dinosaurs didn't have ears. That's exactly what we're dealing with. So they're hey, we're not ready. This is going to be terrible. And in effect, as soon as there was a little bit of a challenge, they were like, I don't get paid enough for this. I'm out of here, girlfriend. I'm out of here. Anyhow, so the riot gets a mention for that, but it also gets a mention for another reason. And that reason is, it allowed for a level of toxicity. And again, I unfortunately have to mention the Jill Meagher murder, which was from a person who was on both parole and bail. So that embarrassed the system in no uncertain terms. Obviously, it's what literally what the number one reason Daniel Andrews got voted into office in Victoria. Anyway, I won't go into, I could easily digress into that again. And still, I should say still. But anyway, so when a prison system has had a riot, has lost its remand, its jewel, its remand prison, it creates this like nobody's asking questions. Nobody from above is just do what you have to do. Just don't that we cannot afford another prison riot. Okay, we'll lose office. Just do what you have to do. So nobody asks questions. The 40 mil that was rumored to repair it, pretty soon after that, rumors were beginning to circulate about, all of a sudden, if you were the right prison officer in the right clique, you were turning up to work in your AMG and your gold, Louis Vuittons, and literally just looked out of place as. And then what went with that? Rumors of the lower ranked prison officers complaining about certain prison officers in the right place, like nudge, nudge, wink, wink, cashing in on the fact that nobody was asking where that money was being spent. That's whatever, that is what it is. That's just money. But what else that same approach, that same like nobody's asking questions, doctor the books kind of attitude, nobody's policing them in effect, is it allowed for the entire situation that is a weaponized AI system to be introduced into a civilian prison in the first place. So the next chapter I go into after the like a looting and a riot is information extraction techniques, which explains how the use of weaponized artificial bot technology comes into information extraction. And loosely, for those of you who haven't heard me say it before, very loosely, it is a continuation, a bot just continually and talk, and eventually the target, the person who's locked in the cell with the torturous little bot, can't help but speak. And slowly, the handlers, the CIA or the Mossad agents, glean the information they need. Well, what the heck is that even doing in a civilian prison system? What purpose have you? You haven't got any lawful purpose for that to exist, let alone just to be wielding it on people willy-nilly, just to have a bit of fun with, just to mess with people. I mean, I can even remember, just to digress a little bit, I can remember during the same time that these torturous, mismanaged peanuts thought they were just having fun and games, telling everybody about their new weaponized AI bot technology. I can remember seeing inmates that I'd known from previous sentences fresh into that prison. And because these idiots are playing with their AI technology, and then what they do is they would get snippets of other inmates. They've got voice impressions. You know how you can use your voice as like an ID for places like the tax? Well, they have the same thing in the prison system, obviously, and you're on the prison phone. So they got a snippet of every single inmate's voices. So then what these masterminds up there in those higher officers who were a bit too bored bit bored with playing Sudoku started turning to was, just for shits and giggles, disgustingly, they'd be using the voice snippets with this bot technology, this AI technology. They'd be using snippets of other inmates, then be playing it through the cell's stenophone, or probably not probably, or the TV system, or both. And then you'd have inmates going, Barry, like literally, because they've just been hearing Barry's voice. And then other inmates would be going, hey, did you see such and such? Well, he's not even in the prison. He's cooked, right? Like that, those type of games. Are you kidding? What kind of animal does that to somebody? There's literally laws in place. The laws put in place to prevent that type of toxicity from sweeping through a prison system were literally introduced around the time the world needed protecting from the likes of Adolf Hitler. I promise you, from the atrocities of World War II, they put in things to protect us from that. Now, here in the People's Republic of Victoria, with the right conditions, which is exactly the same as Nazi Germany, don't mistake that for 1 second. They were just perfectly normal people. Nazi Germany wasn't some like race of weird people and oh gee, they were just perfectly normal people with the right set of conditions allowed for the incineration of some 6 million people. So, and they were just normal people turning up to their prison jobs, just turning up to their police jobs in their uniform. They just thought that this is the right way to behave because they weren't managed correctly. And that's literally what these laws are put in place to protect us from ever happening again. But here we are in the People's Republic of Victoria with minimal to no management, no independent bodies policing these people, none of that. And then these problems, these torturous, disgusting human traits, which were well documented, it's well understood that absolute power has this effect. It has an effect on the human brain. You have to manage it. You have to monitor it. You can't just like throw the average person, here, have all this power, you'll be right. See, it literally cooks people to the point where they start acting terribly. It's a documented thing. And here we are in the People's Republic of mismanaged Victoria, through the right set of circumstances, we've literally got the laws being broken that was put in place to protect international law. Like, are you kidding, Jacinta? Are you guys kidding, Daniel Andrews? What kind of show are you running? Anyhow, the thing that does me a little bit, when I was working, hardworking citizen for Bridgestone, selling tires, doing my suspension, loving cars, all that stuff, they would have a mystery shopper. They'd call it, literally, called a mystery shopper, which would be to police us, to monitor us, to make sure, you know, they come around, hey, I'm just looking for a tire, please. You're going to need tires. Yeah, no problem. So they would monitor you and check you, and yeah, no problem. They proactively policed you, in other words. This is, with all the respect in the world for my colleagues in the automotive industry, in the tire game, in the workshops, in the suspension business, parts business, engine reconditioning. It's a good job. It's an important job, but it's not quite police, prisons, fire brigade, AMBO level, you know, as far as the level of sort of importance in a lack of a better way to put it now, is it? So my point is, if you've got mystery shoppers independently policing a frontline tire guy, but you have not got anybody independently truly policing the police, the prisons, what madness is that? I'll tell you why you haven't got that. Because it is career destroying for the politicians. And this is why the buck always stops with them. It's never about the front, as smart ass barbs aside, it's never about the frontline prisoner. It's not even as much as you have horrible people in all walks of life. At the end of the day, the fault lays with the manager. There's no such thing as bad children, only bad parents. There's no such thing as bad employees, just bad managers. That's the facts. Whether you believe that, it is the 90% of the facts. Like, it falls on poor management. And why do you not have that? Simple. Because if you have a genuine independent anti-corruption unit, it can be career destroying for the Daniel Andrews. It can be career destroying for the Jacinta Allens, which is sickening because it doesn't serve the public. It is not what is in the best interests of the public. It is literally in the best interests. They don't want a situation where the true level of corruption gets exposed, or corruption at this level gets exposed and he knew about it but didn't do it. They don't want that to be exposed without them being able to control it. No, hang on, no, don't, hey, don't do that, which is disgusting. They need a genuine independent policing to monitor them, to monitor the literal abuse of power that is able to happen. And it's happened. I'm sorry, it's not like, oh yeah, that's a bit harsh, it's happened. The toxicity, the money has been plundered. Like literally, the money is getting plundered at a rate of about add 30%, but you could probably more add 40% to most government. It's like a template skeleton where, yeah, work for Paul's ice cream, eat free ice cream, which might be all well and good for a couple of things. If you were doing well, yeah, if you were doing well, you would sort of go, oh, yeah, okay, look, we've never been so good. Look, we've got youth crimes, no problem. There's no drugs anywhere. Okay, you would sort of just go, whatever. We're not. We're doing appallingly. People are just siphoning, literally wringing the bloody state out of every dollar they can get. But in that same philosophy, that same, just get what you can. Don't expose it, protect it. We don't want the level of corruption being exposed. We'll lose it. We'll get voted out. In that comes worse, comes innocent lives getting lost, comes international laws being, but the true extent of it is mind numbing. When you know of situations, which I would never have known about, where innocent people, where the same tactic, the same weaponized bot technology has been used to do people's heads in until innocent people are dying, and then for this same system to continue down the path. Come on, it's disgusting. So anyway, to try and prevent from just going into a rant of how damaged that is in itself, we stick to the information extraction techniques, and we'll get to basically the second book. Like the first book was just an introduction as to the well, as I said before, I call it a perfect storm. There's a set of events that came together that allowed this to happen. And it got swung around into, oh, yeah, you can't say that about women. Like that police informant that we sent into you to try and like drive the hidden cameras. Oh, yeah, the one, that's right. The one that rewarded, the drug addicted one, we bribed her with her toddler. Yeah, that one. Well, you cannot talk to her like that, okay? That's the other madness of this. The other madness is these people, we've got this pedophile business going on. If you'd been exposed to some of the people I got exposed to in all this, when they had a green light, basically, to just go after the dog, Michael Caleb, they showed me the true level of hypocrisy that lives inside some of these people. They would turn a blind eye. These lefty loonies would turn a blind eye, I kid you not, to horrendous gang rape stories to avoid trying to misconstrue as like that's racist. For you to talk bad about that makes you a racist because it happened to be in another country. I kid you not. This is the type of madness that lives inside these people's heads. They will excuse a rape, a gang rape, a horrendous gang rape. Like I couldn't believe what I was listening to regularly. They will excuse a horrendous gang rape. These are government employed people who are in the position of trying to, rehabilitate and give treatment and therapy and counseling to. These people will literally try and get you to believe that lefty, the bureaucracy is full of that extreme left views, people who've been allowed to jump those job queues. I won't go into that, but the type of people that they would rather, it's just, it is crazy. It is democracy removing bonkersness. They will excuse pedophilia for fear of it. Maybe is that, hang on, before you like say pedophile, am I going to be seen remotely homophobic? Is that person, what gender is that person? What sexuality is that person? No, hang on. Oh, count me out then. No, but it's a pedophile. He's a pedophile. No, count me out. I don't want to be seen as like homophobic. Are you listening to yourself? How did we get like this? No, but there's no room for homophobia. There's no room for sexism. There's no room for racism. There's no room for religionism, whatever that word is. None of that. We established that back in 1980 something. But to be in this position in 2025, where you've got people prepared to excuse the most heinous of heinous, well, crimes for fear of being labelled a bigot, you have done something horrendously wrong, leaders. It is madness. Why have we done this to ourselves? Because people don't want to speak their mind anymore. People are like, oh, okay. That guy talked about Nazi Germany. Wonder what their like German colleagues gonna think. You said Nazi Germany, and what? What? Yeah, wow. You said like, yeah, you said this, and that person's a girl. Like, what's the matter with you people? You just that people just walking on eggshells and start scared to the point where our bureaucracy, I cannot believe it. Literally, they will try and portray you. You say, I don't agree with welcome to country not because I'm anti-Indigenous, far from it, the opposite. I just want every single cent to filter through to the outback Indigenous, where they're really, really doing it hard, where they literally live in third world conditions and they're struggling. Our crazy left-wing bureaucracy will swing that around to, oh, you're racist. No, I'm not. I want the best for the people, but you just have this warped view on things. They want this division. It is madness. And where they've lost me 100% is because in this story with, oh, what's that? Oh gosh, is that a drug addicted sex worker with commercial quantities of drugs in front of her? Is that, oh no, is that the one that was paid with a toddler, like blackmailed by the returned custody of her toddler? In this story, that swung around to basically me being this big white sexist bigot guy, and the motive for what unfolded, or what they used to it. So basically what happened was, back when I first got involved in an IBAC investigation against a prison officer, their first tactic was to get a drug addicted sex worker that I knew, who was a generational, like generational drug addicted sex worker, like a very complicated case. And they bribed her with the returned custody of the toddlers she lost for overdosing after shooting up in the neck in front of that toddler. I wasn't there. I was nowhere near that child. But anyway, when I was in custody, she lost her child. These people, to the custody of child services, these people used that as a dangle, as a carrot. Hey, you do this, not because I was some super duper criminal. No. Because I was in an IBAC investigation against one of their own. Let's remember that. So they dangled this poor girl's poor little toddler over her head as a bribe that the kind of bribe that the likes of Hamas might be happy with, like just madness. We'll kidnap you, toddler, and we'll hang it over your head. Just crazy, literally in the state of Victoria. So you have in that they tried to misconstrue because they wanted me to stay quiet. They didn't want when they tuned in on me and they saw, hey, he's in an IBAC investigation against one of our own. And then they started listening to my phone calls and they heard me speaking to my family about how you were not going to believe how incompetent these people are, how mismanaged they are. I'm in here in Ravenhall Correctional. I've never seen something so embarrassing in all my life. They would have heard all these type of conversations. And they wanted to, hey, we're going to have to like get this guy, you know, we're going to, they used her to then try and shut me up, to use my words against me so that whatever I said could be heard and used against me. And it would like, hey, that'll teach him for talking out. Well, my reaction to that was to talk more, was to say, go F yourself. If you want to play with Jeffrey Epstein cameras, go F yourself. And anyway, so what happened? That migrated, that turned into basically me versus the woke mind virus. Those with extreme left views saw me. They didn't see it as, hang on, how did we actually get to hear this conversation? They didn't see it like that. They saw it as what it was packaged up as. I can actually remember saying to a magistrate who said something, and I said, what would the people think like that? And she lost it. She's like, yeah, we'll see what the people think. And clearly lied to the people. You've got to lie to the people. Anyway, I won't digress into that. But my point is it migrated into this little, hey, this guy is like a racist, bigot, white, middle-aged guy, sexist, and all this utter nonsense, the complete opposite of who I am. Like one minute I'm a soft touch getting used by women, and the next minute I was this bad guy doing it. It was bananas, but it migrated into this woke-minded attack. So my point is I got to see the true level of hate that lives inside it. I'm talking next level, not just keying a Tesla. This is next level. Hate and rage lives inside these people. And they don't stop and think, oh, you know, how did I hear that? Like, it's like, hey, he's doing it. He's listening in through a hidden camera. Maybe I can too. It must be okay. What have we damaged? Damaged of the highest magnitude. So anyway, that pretty much sums up the first part. Sorry about that. That pretty much sums up the first book. The next one will be into the next book, the actual very broken system, where I go into the likes of you'll have to wait. The likes of the interview, which is which goes into the interview. Arguably, I should have put the interview. Now I think about it, I should have put the interview in this book and started with, because the interview is really one of the perfect conditions. The interview is where the police in all their wisdom. I honestly think that there was a setup of sorts. Came waltzing in to invest to ask me to be a witness against one of their own when I was in the middle of Port Phillip prison, and literally from that interview. So from when I got out from Ravenhall after the IBAC investigation incident, after being close to the chef, from when I got out from there, I was getting stalked and harassed. I had these little the gang stalkers, little government gang stalkers sitting off me. I had weird little drug addicted informants turning up. It was the strangeness started from the moment I got out of Ravenhall. And I'm talking strange. I'm not talking play. I'm talking strange anti-corruption stuff where people turn up and very strange. The likes of, whistleblower harasser. You would not expect it to happen in Victoria. And then from then that started happening. But then from the interview, from the moment I walked out of that interview room where I listened, I got more information off the police than the police got. I didn't know anything to say, but I listened. Oh yeah, really? Prison officer got in trouble. Oh, yeah, what else happened? Oh, really? A billet did. Oh, gee, what? Billets have taken the stand. Do tell, Of course, I wanted the goss, so I listened. The moment I walked out from that, the dog. I kid you not. At first, I was like, ah. So then when you fast forward 8 years, 7 years, whatever it is forward, and you start hearing the community expectation and that, like the John Setka story, where he, in effect, stood down because he was heard on a security camera calling Leo a dog. Leo, you dog. If you don't, whatever it was. In effect, that was the so loosely, John Setka stood down because he was heard on camera calling someone a dog, not on government property, not on a work site, not even at work, not even in a company. This was 9 o'clock at night at, I don't know whose house, some Leo bloke. But he got heard on camera calling Leo a dog. My point, the reason I mention that is because I was getting called by every single prison officer, not every single, say from 60% of the prison officers, a whole heap of police officers, a whole heap of court workers, and a whole heap of government system members and counsellors and government paid legal aid lawyers who would all mutter, dog, as I'd walk past. Now, once I nearly choked when I saw the John Setka story and where the community holds that type of thing. That gives you a fine example of how damaged the state of Victoria has been allowed to come. And that is how it affects you, because it doesn't just affect you in the fact you're now paying, your kids are now paying 200, your kids, grandkids are now paying $200 billion. That kind of mismanagement, yeah, it's money, it's data, but it's the other things too. It's the youth crimes, youth getting killed. It's the scared citizens. It's the no prisons, no police. It is the same mismanagement that allowed for what happened to me, what I was exposed to. The same mismanagement is exactly the same mismanagement behind what is happening to you, the average taxpayer. Anyway, sorry to ramble on a little bit that way. I think next time I'll prepare a bit better. But thanks, and speak soon.